Every spring I like to come down this path, stretch my legs, do a little running, cycling. The trees start to bloom and the flowers and everything starts to turn green. I've been cooped up inside all winter long inside the house, and I just want to get out and get a little exercise and welcome summer back. It's also a good time on this path where I can do a little meditating, a little prayer, and at the same time this path kind of reminds me of the path of life, the path that God wants us to be on. Proverbs 3:6 states that if you acknowledge God in this, He will always make your path straight. And I've always wanted to stay on the path that God wants me to be on. You can see at the end of this path, if I stay on the path, I know it'll always get me back home. In the path of life, if we stay on this path, it'll get us home. Home that God knows it to be, which is heaven. And off of this path, there's other little trails, and some of them we don't want to wander down, especially in the spring. This trail over here gets a lot of rain. It's kind of like a bog. The path over here, it's a dead end, runs into briars and thickets. Just like in the path of life, if we get off of the path that God wants us to be on, we run into those same kind of roadblocks. And on these trails, the only way to get back, if you're not familiar with them, maybe with a map. But in the walk of life, what the map that God has given us is the Bible. If we don't read it, if we don't study it, if we don't pray, we have a tendency to, if we wander off of God's path, which is sometimes kind of difficult to stay on, if we're not familiar with it, it's difficult to get back on the path and stay on the path that God wants us to be on. Let's hear what someone else has to say about staying on the path that God has chosen for them.
In life, there's a lot of things you can call out to for help. As a child of an alcoholic and also a child of the 80s, I remember calling out to the A-team for help. Swinging on the swing, no matter how loud I cried out, no one ever came to rescue me like I was hoping they would. And then I also remember looking at this picture that was in Sunday school of Jesus holding a little lamb. And I wanted to be that little lamb. I wanted him to hold me and take care of me. So one day I climbed up into a tree and I called out to him and he answered. I remember feeling like he heard me. And when I would come home and my dad was not in the right mood to listen to my stories that I wanted to tell him, I would climb up in that tree and I would talk to Jesus, and Jesus would listen and he would hear me, and I always felt filled. It didn't make me want to go down the path that my grandfather and my father and my brother and my sister went down that led to alcoholism. It made me want to go down the path that followed Jesus, because those were the footprints I wanted to follow.
Let me ask you a question. Are you the kind of person that feels that your cup is half empty, or if your cup is half full? I'll tell you what God wants. He wants to make sure you're the kind of person that feels that your cup is completely full. And this is how He'll do it. He'll fill your cup with His love. Now, if you're the pessimistic kind of person that feels that your cup is half empty, God doesn't care about your past. All He cares about and all He invests in is how you feel today, and He cares about your future and that you're on the right path.